The Paul Leslie Interviews.
This is the final interview into our look at the Kindred Spirit folk trio. It's my pleasure to welcome singer, songwriter, guitarist, Miss Deborah McColl.
Hey, Thom.
Thank you so much for making the time to do this. I feel this is a bit of serendipity because for all the listeners out there, I've been corresponding off and on occasionally with her for a few years now. And here she is playing at a venue that's literally walking distance of my house. So I'm very pleased that this has happened.
That was so great. You said that, yeah.
Tell us about how music started for you.
Oh, gosh. Well, I kind of had the typical early piano lessons and so forth, which was good. That gave me a good foundation. But when I was 13, 14, folk music was really happening, and I started playing guitar. And my first boyfriend was a really good guitar player, Devon Vogue was his name. And he taught me a lot, and we started playing together. And back then we had this really, it dates me, we had hootenannies back then. We had music jam sessions. That was just a great, like we still do. I still today do have music night every once a month. But I started playing when I was that young, and then it's a long story. You want to hear the whole thing?
If you're willing to tell us, we're listening.
Actually, there's a song on my CD called Little Pearl that kind of tells the story of what happened in my life and my family when I was a teenager. And when my family just kind of fell apart, I ended up living in Montgomery, Alabama with my mother and stepfather, and it was not a good situation. When I was 15, I got up one morning and packed my suitcase and went out and hitchhiked to Atlanta. I don't advise anyone to do that today, but I can't believe I actually did that back then. And I hitchhiked to Atlanta, and I found an old high school friend, and he took me to this carriage house in Ansley Park that was a communal dwelling of a bunch of folks. And Thom Tollerson lived there, and Phil Rolleston was hanging around, and a bunch of other musicians and a bunch of us hippies. And it was a real savior for me. When I walked into that door, you know, it was like I had a family, a real family for the first time, or the first time in many years. We started singing together, and really sort of before we knew it, we were playing Atlanta clubs and getting a great response. And so this was the very, very first group.
The Kindred Spirit was the first group that you were a part of.
Yeah.
Before you were in the group, do you remember any singers or bands that really made a burn?
Well, I sounded like a little Joan Baez, because I listened to a lot of Joan Baez. And Bob Dylan and Joan Baez and Buffy St. Marie were really happening, and then Joni Mitchell later. Probably Joan Baez was, you know, who I modeled myself after back then. And of course, years have passed since then, and I've had a lot of other influences.
I love Joan.
Yeah.
I love Joni Mitchell.
Yeah.
When you guys met, that is Phil and Thom, it was as if you guys, a part of you felt like you were meant to be together. Did you get that feeling like this trio was meant to happen?
Yeah, well, I'm sure we felt that way at the time. I certainly feel that way now, looking back. But yeah, we were idealistic in a lovely, lovely way. You know, it was so authentic, and we were on a mission that wasn't just about music. It really was about preaching the message of peace and harmony and love. In our own ways, we're still doing that.
Yeah, it's amazing that after 40 years that this concert's going to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
I keep thinking about Simon and Garfunkel stuff. I was telling them that the song Old Friends kind of reminded me of you guys, because that's what you are. You're friends, and
we're old.
So, this week, what has it been like for you reuniting with these guys?
It's been great. Well, I came, they probably told you how this all started with our friend Bob Pearl, who sent us the CD. And so the first time I came back, I came to rehearse with them not quite a year ago. I think it was in the summer last year, '07. And it was pretty amazing. They picked me up at the airport, and it was just like we just picked up like from the other day, and it had been 20 years since we'd seen each other. And it's hilarious. Our interpersonal dynamics are exactly the same. It's really, really funny and really sweet. We just get along great. And now singing all these little songs together is fabulous. And new songs. And they're putting harmonies on my songs like nobody else could. Somehow we still have the blend that we used to have. Those little neural pathways are still ingrained. It's very sweet. It's very sweet. Beyond words, really.
I wanted to talk about your solo album. Mm-hmm. There's one song in particular that I really like. That's The Poet.
Oh.
I like that song, so I was hoping you could tell us about it.
Hardly anyone picks that song. I love that song. Well, it's kind of an unrequited love song about a man I was dating at the time. I don't know what to say about that song. It just kind of was one of those songs that kind of just flowed out emotionally. It wasn't as much written as it was notated.
So we'll have to let the song speak for itself.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And that's the wonderful thing about songs. Someone else can hear it, and they can get an entirely different message from it. Yeah. Well, what about the title track, Naked in the Garden? Naked in the Garden, I really like those lyrics. That song is about that epiphanous moment that we sometimes have when we have a crisis, or right after a near-death experience, or something that makes life extremely vivid for us, and it's usually facing our mortality. It's about these epiphanous moments in 3 different scenarios, and I don't know how much to say about it, but it's about just becoming suddenly very present in your life when you realize how precious it is. And that that you don't have total control, that you're basically vulnerable and open, and that's a very powerful and beautiful place to be. Wow. Since you guys have been so honest, I'll tell you that when I first started listening to your album, mm-hmm. I was at a point in my life where I was really just at my very lowest. Really? And your background, I wanted to know, because I found it to be so. Do you think that music is therapeutic? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. It saved my life. It saved my life. Yeah. I feel the same way, really. Yeah. I do. Well, yes, and I mean, I'm a psychotherapist now in Los Angeles and have been for 20 years, and I have a creative process group that I've been doing on Saturdays in my office for years now, and music and art and writing all opens it opens our hearts and allows us to let love in and let love out, and it's a channel for healing and expression. Yeah, it still heals me. I wrote a song. My partner, who I'd been with for 15 years, Patrick, who's playing guitar all over Naked in the Garden. I don't know if I told you this, but he just passed away last September. It's been really hard. But before he died, he was sitting on the couch playing the guitar, and he started playing this little riff, and I started playing it along with him. And I wrote a couple of lines, and he passed away a week later. And within that week after he died, I finished the song, and it's called Into the Breathless. And we'll be performing that at this concert. And it'll be on my next recording, whenever that is. But it's my grief song, and it was very healing to write it. And it's kind of amazing that it was co-written with him, part when he was alive and part after he was gone. You couldn't really say completely that the Kindred Spirit ever really broke up, because all these years later, you guys are still together. Yeah. So you guys kind of took sabbaticals. That's right. Really long sabbaticals. But initially, just for my curiosity, how did you guys, when did it stop? When it was 72, right?
I
71?
think 71. And it's very blurry to me. I don't have a great memory. They remember better than I do. But yeah, I think it was 71. But you know, when you're young, a year seems like a really long time. And I think we all together had about a little over a 2-year career together. But it was a lifetime because it was when we were so young, and it was also the era was a very ripe, rich, supercharged time between 68 and 70.
It made an impression.
Yeah, definitely.
All these years later.
Yeah.
Still crazy after all these years.
Yeah.
So tell us, after the Kindred Spirit, you became a part of the core Reefer band. Tell me how you got hooked up with Jimmy and his Reefers.
Yeah, his Reefers. I was the original Reeferette. He reminds me of that. Deborah, you'll always be the original Reeferette. Well, after Kindred Spirit broke up, I had a rock band called Chakra after that, and then I had a folk rock band called Silverman. And then I played solo for several years after that. And one time when I was playing in my favorite Atlanta venue called Aunt Charlie's in Buckhead, Jimmy Margaritaville had just hit. He was basking in the afterglow of his #1 single, and he was playing a concert at the Fox Theater, and he and his road manager came down to hear me at the late set at Aunt Charlie's. See, now I have to back up. I had known him prior when I was playing with my band Silverman. He had hitchhiked up from Florida and did a guest set with us. And I don't even think I really remembered him or who he was until he landed in the audience that night after his concert and said, "Hey, remember me?" and asked me if I wanted to sing on his album. So I sang on Son of a Sailor. That was the first one I did. And then he asked me if I wanted to tour with him. And so I toured with him for almost 4 years and did 6 albums, I think, 5 or 6 albums. My favorite of which was Volcano. That was just so much fun to record. And it was insane. You know, it was crazy days, and I lived to tell the tale. It is the best news. But we really had fun.
He was pretty wild back then, wasn't he?
We were wilder than he was.
Really?
But yeah, somebody had to stay in charge.
Yeah. Greg Taylor has told me some stories that could not be recorded.
Yeah, really, fingers. Oh my God. Yeah.
But I wanted to ask about one of the songs you co-wrote with him. A very great song, I think, called Incommunicado.
Oh, you like Incommunicado, yeah.
Nice literary references in it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember writing that song?
Yeah, he was kind enough to just invite me to co-write both Fins and Incommunicado. And we were on the road, and he just said, "I'm working on this song, and I'm kind of stuck." You know, we just sat in the hotel room, and worked out the lyrics.
Tomorrow night and Saturday night, everybody is going to get to hear this music, and I just have this feeling. I've had a feeling, I've been excited about this all week. I just have this feeling that it's going to be one of those concerts that you really remember.
Well, it'll sure be one that we remember. And I know it's going to be a high vibration couple of nights, because we have friends coming in from all over the country. And it's kind of our old social group from 69, 70, 71, descending upon Winder, Georgia.
That's a real testament to the power of music, because you guys were in the band, of course, so you're going to remember it. But all these people listening, it's burned them too.
Yeah.
And all these years later, they're
That's
going
right.
to get to hear this music.
That's right.
So what do you hope people walk away from these 2 nights thinking?
I think, for us, it's the sense of the power of community and music and love among old friends and new friends, just the power of human connection and human bonds. And I think it will remind us all that we have family in the world. We sat down last night and we picked up one of our best old friends at the airport last night. She's one of the first to get here of the crew. And we sat around at Thom's house and sang Uncle John's Band, which we've never performed that song, but that was our sing-along, song at whatever commune we were living in at the time. And it just We might end up doing that on stage. It just has.
I hope you do.
It's such a great song, and it captures the spirit.
I hope you guys can work it in, because I like that
You
song.
like it, yeah.
My last question, the wonderful thing about technology is that it's connecting us so much more. We have this wonderful thing. I think it's a wonderful thing, the internet, where people can talk to each other from all around the world. And that's the wonderful thing about this program. We can talk to people from all around the world. So my last question to you, given that this is going out all over the world, what would you like to say to the world?
Lord, Paul. Love thy neighbor as thyself.
The golden rule.
The golden rule. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Well, thank you very much. I think that it's very simple. We're taught it when we're very young. Sometimes we forget it, but it's something that will never change.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks, Paul.